welcome to this video. So it's mid-season, 13 races have been completed, we've got 9 left, the first one being Spa, and I thought I'd do a grading of the drivers so far this season. So we're going to start with Albon. Now, Albon so far this season has only got 3 points with 2 points finishes. He's outperformed his teammate. For this being his first season in Williams, has been pretty solid, pretty good. So I'm going to put him in C or B. I'm going to say B. Because I feel like for the car being Williams, he's performed pretty well. However, we never know how good the car is because his teammate's Latifi. Now, we're going to do Alonso because that's the next one, isn't it? Now, Alonso's obviously got one front row start in Canada when it was raining. It's been good so far. However, it's actually like his points so far this season's actually lower than his teammates. Like Ocon's got 58, and then Alonso's got 41. He's had 9 point finishes. I suppose Ocon's only had 10 really. And Alonso has had one more DNF. The car's actually a good car. Obviously, they're in the battle with McLaren so far this season. I feel like A might be slightly too high, but I feel like B. I'm going to put him at A. Because considering he's in a Alpine, he got a front row start, and that's more that can be said for Ocon, even though Ocon has got more points. Now, Bottas, recently, the car's had to retire a couple of times. By the start of the season, he's performing really good. He's on 46 points, which is actually more than Alonso, which is quite surprising. He's got 7 point finishes with 3 DNFs. Now, compared to Guan Yu Zhou, I should say, is way better. Like, Guan Yu Zhou has only got 5 points. Obviously, he's a rookie. Now, A-star. Well, he's not A-star. A or B. I'm going to put him in B, but I'm going to put him ahead of Albon. Now, Gasly. Gasly last season was brilliant. He was one of the top drivers. This season, himself and the car have been both disappointing. He has got 16 points with 3 point finishes and 3 DNFs. He's got 5 more points than Tsunoda so far this season, but that isn't obviously that much. But the car's not performing to the standard it should be at. B, I don't know, C is obviously too hard because he is obviously a fantastic driver and the car just isn't performing well enough. But, like, it's hard because Albon's got a weaker car and he's performing quite well. And then Gasly's got somewhat a weaker car, obviously not as weak as the Williams. So I'm going to put him there. I put him there. Hamilton, to be fair, is being quite good this season. Obviously, Mercedes haven't been the best. They've got the 3rd fastest car. Recently, they've started to come in more play, especially with Ferrari, because obviously Ferrari are terrible with strategy. And obviously, they've had a few DNFs with the drivers' faults as well. He's so far 6th in the driver's standings with 146 points. He is 12 points behind his teammate. He's had no DNFs, which he's the only driver on the grid to have no DNFs, which shows about himself and obviously the teams and the engine's reliability. He's had 6 podiums so far, which is actually more than Leclerc, which is quite surprising, and it's more than Russell, with 2 second place finishes and 4 third place finishes. Now, I'm going to put him in A. I put him in A because although the car hasn't been the best, he has performed quite well. And at the top 3 teams, obviously Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes, he is 6th place in the drivers. But he has been a bit unlucky in terms of Russell has had a bit of luck. Obviously, it's the driver as well, but Russell has had a bit of luck, especially in the past couple of races, the first couple of races. Latifi. Now, F is a fail. I had to search that one. And I'm going to put Latifi in F. Latifi is the only driver so far to score 0 points, bar Nico Hülkenberg, but obviously he doesn't really count because he was only in for 2 races. He's had 0 points finishes with 3 DNFs. So I'm going to put him in F. I think he should be replaced. There's obviously many other great talents in F in the Formula Series who would love his position, like Piastri, Hülkenberg, De Vries, Drugovic. And I feel like he's blocking, in a sense, talented drivers for coming in and at least having an opportunity. Now, Leclerc is... I don't know, I feel A star. I'm not going to put him in A star. Well, I'd say A plus really on the tier, because he has been a bit inconsistent. Now, obviously, the engine failures aren't his fault, but he's obviously had some failures and some DNFs that were his fault. He's placed second in the drivers. However, he is 80 points behind Verstappen with, I would say, a superior car. Not like much superior, but I think it is a better car than the Red Bull, especially on Saturday. Now he has whatever that means, 10 point finishes with 3 DNFs. Now, obviously, he had his crash in France, which was completely his fault, which was just as a result of him pushing too hard because he didn't want to be overtook by Verstappen. Obviously, when he pitted, he obviously he didn't retire from it. But he had his incident in Imola where he was pushing too hard, trying to overtake Perez, where he span off by taking too much curb. He's had 5 podiums, which in reality for being second in the drivers isn't that good. Like, he's had 3 first finishes and 2 second place finishes. He's got the most poles out of everyone with 7 poles, but he's only won 2 of them. So yeah. So I'm going to put him in... I feel like B is too harsh, but I'm going to put him there because Hamilton has been more consistent than him in a weaker car. Magnussen's obviously signed a contract deal where he obviously drives next season as well. He has been good, to be fair. He surprised quite a lot of people because obviously last season he wasn't in because it was obviously... Mazepin and Schumacher, but he's come in this season because obviously what's happened, and he's performed very well, outperformed his teammate. Now he's got 22 points compared to Schumacher's 12. He's had 5 point finishes compared to Schumacher's 2, and he has had 4 DNFs, which is quite a lot compared to Schumacher's 2 as well. So it shows that when he has been able to drive the car, he has been good. So I'm going to put him in B. Maybe A, maybe I'll change that, but for that, nah, what's that? Now, Norris is 7th in the drivers. He is 18 points ahead of Ocon, who are obviously in the fight with each other, obviously McLaren in Alpine. Now, he is the only driver, bar the top 3 teams, to have had a podium with his 3rd place in Imola. So I'm going to put him for that. Obviously, he's outperformed his teammate with Ricciardo in 12th place compared to Norris's 7th. And he is, oh god, what is that maths? 57? 57 points clear Norris is compared to Ricciardo. So I'm going to put him in there. I keep doing that, I need to stop doing that. Now, Ocon has, like, I don't think he's had any, like, standout performances, but he has been very consistent and very good. He's 8th in the drivers so far with 58 points. He's 17 points clear of his teammate Alonso. He's had 1 more points finished compared to Alonso with 10. He's had 1 DNF with Alonso's 2. So I feel like it's unfair if I don't put him ahead of Alonso because he has got more points than him. Obviously Alonso has had that front row start, but I'm going to put Ocon there. I feel like that's fair. Now, Perez is a tough one because although he is 3rd in the drivers, he has also been quite off his teammate. Obviously, Verstappen is obviously the best driver so currently on the grid. He's had 6 podiums with 1 first place finish and 5 second place finishes. He's had that one pole, obviously, in Saudi Arabia. So where do I put him? He's had 10 point finishes, which is quite consistent with 3 DNFs. I feel like that's like, if I put him there, I feel like that's a bit too high. But he hasn't made as many mistakes as Leclerc. Well, not that I can think of anyway. But he has been quite a way off his teammate. I'm going to put him there. I feel like that's fair. Now, Ricciardo. Now, I feel like everyone knows Ricciardo's got huge amounts of talent. However, in his time at McLaren, he's not shown it. Obviously, last year he won in Monza. He was a bit fortunate with the fact that Hamilton and Verstappen, who were probably most likely to win, crashed into each other. But this season and last season, he has been struggling. He's been outperformed by his teammate pretty much all the time. And his performances have been pretty, not weak, but not to the standard of driver that we thought he was and think he is. So Ricciardo is 12th so far in the drivers with 19 points. He's had 4 point finishes and he's got 1 DNF to his name. Considering he's in the fight with Alpine and obviously his teammate, he is actually behind Alonso in 10th, and Magnussen's between them. So for that, I'm going to put him in. She's harsh, considering Gasly also has not been performing. Now that might seem quite harsh. Well, it is quite harsh, but I'm going to keep it that way. Now, Russell's like a tough one. Although he's been lucky, he's obviously performed well. Obviously got the pole position in Hungary last weekend. He's had 5 podiums with 5 third place finishes. Where do I put him? He's 4th in the drivers so far with 158 points and 12 point finishes. Obviously, he had that 1 DNF in Silverstone. However, you can't really blame him for that. It was quite obviously a racing incident and it was just very unlucky. I'm going to put him in. I think he's been better than Perez, see? Because he's been consistent and he's outperforming a 7-time world champion. He's ahead of Sainz in the constructors. The drivers, and considering Ferrari's obviously got a far superior car than Mercedes, I feel like I've got to put him in A or A star. I'm putting him in there. I might go to the top, but possibly not. Now, Sainz is currently 5th in the drivers with 156 points with 9 point finishes and 4 DNFs. Now, like Leclerc, he has made some drivers' errors, with especially that spin in Australia, which cost him quite a few points, and it was a bit unnecessary, and all down to his own fault. So, because he's just pushing too hard, and obviously, as a result, a bit like Leclerc, he spun and DNF'd. Now, he has had 6 podiums with 1 win, 3 second places, and 2 third places. Obviously, he had the 1 win was converted from his pole. And where do I place him, though? Now, do I put him there or there? Or there? Because obviously, even though Leclerc has had, to be fair, Sainz had more DNFs, but although Leclerc has obviously made quite a few costly errors, he is still quite ahead of Sainz with 22 points difference. So I feel like it's unfair to put him like there or close. So I'm going to put him there. Because although the car is helps the standings of them, and you can't really see the true driving potential of all drivers unless they have the exact same car, which would be pretty cool. but I'm going to put him there. Schumacher. Now, Schumacher's quite a tough one, to be fair, because although he's 15th in the drivers, he's scored 12 points with 2-point finishes and 2 DNFs. Now, Magnussen is 11th with almost double the amount of points, with 10 points more. He's had 5 points finishes compared to Schumacher's 2. So I've got to put him at least below that. I'm going to put him there. Recently, he's been better. He's been improving, obviously. In Austria, he held Hamilton for quite a long time. Obviously, in Silverstone, even though Verstappen's car was quite heavily damaged, they had a bit of a battle right at the end, with him just losing out on the final turn. So I think that's quite fair to put him there. I feel like I might be saying Albon's a bit too high, but we might change it later. Now, Stroll is currently 18th in the drivers, which is very low. Now, obviously, the Aston Martin has not been that good, because Vettel, 4-time world champion, is placed, 14th. 14th with 16 points compared to Stroll's 4. Now, they have actually had a fair amount of points finishes, with Stroll having 4. He's only had 1 DNF, which is pretty good, so the car's reliability is pretty solid. Where shall I place him? Obviously, it's a bit unfortunate in Hungary last weekend with Ricciardo basically hitting Stroll. Obviously, Ricciardo locked up, so it couldn't really be avoided, but Stroll did leave plenty enough room down to turn 2, and Ricciardo was locked up. So I'll put him... Thing is, I feel like that's a bit too high, because... No, I'm putting him there, because considering Ricciardo's car is better than Stroll, I can't really think of any stand-up performances by Ricciardo. Sonoda's placed 16th in the drivers so far, by being 5 points behind Gasly. Now, Sonoda and Gasly both have had 3 points finishes, and Sonoda's had 2 DNFs to Gasly's 3. I feel like I can't rate him higher than Gasly, because at the end of the day, even though Gasly is one of the most talented drivers on the grid, obviously he himself has not performed well, and the car hasn't performed well, and Tsunoda I feel like has improved compared to last season, because he is close to his teammate, but you don't actually truly know, because the car isn't good. So I'm going to put him there. Verstappen, I don't think I need to really say much for that. Verstappen has obviously so far this season been the best driver. He's had 8 wins with 2 DNFs and 11 point finishes out of the 13 races. So he's basically 8 out of 11 times he's won, because obviously with them 2 DNFs. Now, obviously them 2 DNFs were both not his fault. Obviously both were problems in Australia and Bahrain. And considering he was plus 40 points behind Leclerc coming out of Australia, he's now 80 points clear of Leclerc mid-season. He's had 10 podiums, 8 first places, 1 second place and 1 third place. He's only had 3 poles, which is converted out of them poles 2 wins. But he has been exceptional, way above the rest, with 258 points. So I'm going to put him there. And also he hasn't made mistakes. Obviously he made that mistake in Hungary and in Barcelona, but he both won out them 2 mistakes, because there were little mistakes that he car controlled beautifully and escaped out of them. Now, Vettel... Now, Vettel is 14th in the drivers right now, with 16 points, 5 point finishes and 2 DNFs. Now, he is ahead of Stroll by 12 points. However, that's obviously not a big margin, but the car itself has not been good. He's got to be ahead of Stroll. I feel like that's quite fair. You could argue Albon and Vettel the other way around, but I feel like that's pretty fair. Last but not least, Guan Yu Zhou. Now, obviously it's Guan Yu Zhou's rookie season. Obviously his teammate is a vastly experienced F1 driver who was at Mercedes. So where do I put him? He's 17th in the drivers with 5 points. And out of them 5 points, 2 of them were point finishes. He's had 5 DNFs, which is quite a lot. But where do I put him? I feel like considering it's his rookie season, he just deserved a chance, and he has been actually quite good. Obviously, luckily he was fine at coming out of Silverstone. It was not his fault, it was just a racing incident, as I said before. Luckily he escaped unharmed, well, unharmed to a certain degree. But I'm going to put him there, because considering it's his rookie season, he has been quite good. And I feel like you can't say how good he's been so far, because he's only really had 13 races in F1 compared to all of the other drivers who have at least had 2 seasons or more in F1. So that is my drivers ranking. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your suggestions on what you would change or who you think has been the best driver this season so far. Hope you enjoyed.